it is going to be a uniform, officer that will be joining and will be providing education to the children in regards to safety, not being punitive for regular teenage, what did we say, behaviors that can occur during that time. Yes. Shenanigans. They will provide safety and security, serve as a liaison with the police department. They are not making arrests. We talked about a juvenile officer having that role, if it ever came to that. They serve as a legal resource for students, administration, and parents.
Thank you. Oh,
One more, sorry. I'm trying to read through my summary, I apologize. Our current code of conduct addresses a lot of, how are we supporting our students that may engage in minor school offenses that are not breaking laws or are considered to be criminal acts. And I think Ms. Pelestis mentioned, and Ms. Mullen in the Personnel Committee did some of that research in regards to our current policies. And they're pretty defined there as well. So we would need to look at that to ensure that our MOU is in suit with that. That's it. Is there anything else to add from Personnel Committee that I have missed?
That we will be, there's a PowerPoint that will also be provided to the community.
To the community, yes.
Yes, one of the meetings which will provide an overview that's happening statewide, that's being used. This PowerPoint has been developed and is being used throughout the state.
That's our next meeting, correct?
That's what we're
Yes.
trying to do, schedule for that next meeting.
I had a question, but actually in response to Ms. Gonzalez's summary, I heard you say no arrests, and I do appreciate you researching, and the committee researching those questions. No arrests made by the SRO officer. If needed, it would be by the juvenile officer. Would there be arrests in school?
I believe that when we spoke to the chief, we touched upon that, and they will do everything in their power to avoid the impact or the negative impact on their children. But if it can come to safety situations, yes.
Okay. And then if I can move to the...
Just as happens now.
Correct. Yes. So no difference. So having an SRO would not make a difference because they cannot do the arrest. They would have to reach out to the juvenile officer.
And then...
With the permission of the principal.
It would be an action that's initiated
unless it's
by the
eminent
administrator
danger.
of the school.
And Ms. Pelestis, if I may, with my statement and first question, the stated purpose of the SRO is not to keep students, teachers, staff, and administrators safe from school shootings. In fact, on page 5 of the New Jersey Guide to Establishing a Safe School Resource Officer Program in Your Community, published in 1998 and not updated since then, here and after the guide, it defines the purpose of the SROs as follows: to assist schools and communities in reducing juvenile delinquency through a collaborative approach between law enforcement and schools focused on education, prevention, communication, and information sharing. Taking that with the MOU mission statement that states, through education and enforcement and by cooperative efforts with the school staff, the students, the parents, the courts, the surrounding neighborhood, and the community social service organizations, the SRO program strives to assist the schools with providing a safe school zone and neighborhood environment, and strives to hold juveniles responsible for their actions and prevent individual problems from developing into patterns of delinquency. That's certainly a mouthful. Instead, I propose to this board and or to the Personnel Committee that we change the MOU mission statement to state the mission of the School Resource Officer Program is to improve school safety and the educational climate at the school, not to enforce school discipline or punish students. That would make the mission of our School Resource Officer very clear, and in line with what I'm hearing from some of my fellow board members is what we want, and also in line what I'm hearing from community members and what I myself feel is the need to protect our students, as Ms. Pelestis did state, from punitive measures that involve our youth in criminal justice systems unnecessarily.
The only response that I have to that, if I may, is the one document that you were reading from is over 20 years old. And the original, and I've read through the document, I've read through multiple MOUs, and I've read through, checked the Department of Education website. The reality is, they know that they have got to modify that 1998 document. It is no longer what we are looking to do with SROs. So kind of interjecting it into the dialogue is not really appropriate because it's a 20-year-old document. It's the part that you were reading about juvenile delinquency, that's a 20-year-old document that the Department of Ed has said to us, we're in the process of, and I believe Chief Smith also said, we're in the process of revising.
If I may just clarify in the language,
But
I didn't interject it. It was sent to us by Mr. Becker for the full board's review.
Yeah.
Just to clarify that.
No.
Let me just add something to that, please. At the Board of Directors meeting for New Jersey School Boards last Friday night, school safety was a big topic of discussion. New Jersey School Boards, Homeland Security, the Department of Education, and the state are in the process right now of redoing that document. And there is a new document on the way. Basic fact is active shooter isn't mentioned in that document because in 1998, it was an unknown.
It might not have happened.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen with the regularity that it's happening now. So that document is in the process of being updated right now, and I don't think we should make any changes at all and wait for what the state comes out with.
Mr. Scarnio, any timeframes?
The New Jersey School Board's document is finished. It is being tweaked right now. There's a couple of fine-tuning changes they're going through, and I suspect we'll probably see, it's fast-tracked. I suspect we'll see it within the next few months.
If I may, I wanted to add, Ms. Ruiz, you talked about not receiving comments from the community, and that is, for me personally, something that's very important. And I know that, you know, the way things flow so fast, I know that in the beginning of this meeting, it was asked, right, in the public comment section for anyone who had seen the agenda, which is still posted on our website at 4 p.m., right? I can check today, of course. So I think that they did have a chance to speak to us about their thoughts. And it would have been great to hear anything about the community or from the community. So I understand where you're coming from in regards to that. But at the same time, I don't think that that's enough for me to feel comfortable in saying let's put it out.
Can I interject? There was a point of the MOU that I really liked, and I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. Program assessment. It's, I don't know what page it's
Yes.
on.
So last page.
Okay, program assessment. It says the school resource officer program will be assessed annually, and the evaluation will be conducted jointly between the Dover Police Department and the Dover Public Schools. The following areas at a minimum will be used to evaluate the program: success of established goals and objectives, internal survey of high school administration, faculty, student council members, primarily concerning perceptions of safety and security, traditional police-citizen contact, non-traditional police-citizen contact, surrounding neighborhood feedback and reaction to police efforts, and accomplishment of tasks agreed upon as part of any work plan. Perhaps this contact is only in effect for 3 months, right? It will take place
Yes.
presumably today and last through the end of the school year. Perhaps one of the things, I don't know if we can add to this, I don't think it fundamentally changes the MOU, but perhaps some survey that is also sent out to parents and community. What is parental perception of the SRO program? And we could certainly take that into evaluation as we move into next school year.
As we move into next school year, yes, because there is a built-in mechanism for, you know, taking a look at it. As Ms. Grisales said, this is a living document. This is not something that is set in stone and we're not going to change it. This is something we're trying. The police have already expended funds in training their officers and are choosing officers that are going to have experience in working with juveniles. And I think that that is a great thing. So at this point in time, unless there's...
If I may
One addition,
respond.
the new school security policy will be voted on, and I'm sure is going to be passed at the May 19th Delegates Assembly.
Yes, okay, thank you.
If I may, I have a response, or an addition to Ms. Sayner's point, and I won't read again the program assessment, but I would add that it states an internal survey of administrators, faculty, and student council members will be used to evaluate the program. That is insufficient. By definition, none of those individuals are likely to be subject to interactions with SROs or criminal charges. So again, to propose changes to this living document, how can we add language so that the evaluation includes a survey of everyone, particularly those students who have interactions with SROs, negative interactions with SROs? We need to hear from them, and we need to hear from their parents and other staff and administrators, not just student council members and select groups.
And that fell under the non-traditional police citizen contacts that includes family interviews, the problem areas addressed. So I think they tried to expand out to include everyone, community, to parents that are involved in the system with their students. That's one of the things. It looks like it's trying to.
So let's get it started, and then in 3 months, we can assess where we are.
Can I ask the lawyers at the table, can we send it to every parent in the middle school? Is legally, are we allowed by this to send some kind of survey mechanism to all?
I think
That
that's
question is for
for
Mr. Crew, not for the lawyers at the table.
Thank you. Mr. Fruit?
I don't see any, I think the board could, do any survey that it wants. There's certain limits on survey questions related to certain sensitive subjects. But if the board was interested in a couple of months of doing a survey, a general survey to find out how school resource or program is working, I don't see any reason the board couldn't do that if they wanted.
Might it be more appropriate for the Board of Education to direct the superintendent to conduct surveys
Well, exactly.
for one of the
Right,
groups?
right. And in fact, I thought that you had already said that you were willing to do that.
We are.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
I have another
Also-
question, Ms. Plessis.
One other point too. In the past, we've had SROs in the schools. And we came to the determination that at that point in time, it was not working for us, and we stopped the program.
Yes.
And that could happen again.
And that could happen again.
Happen again. And it's not a contract, a yearly contract. What is it? 3 months.
Thank you.
Please.
2 questions based on Mr. Scarnio's point. So my first question is, the 5th objective is primary of the SRO is primary investigation of cases involving juveniles, referring all cases to the juvenile officer in the town of Dover, and use of effective alternatives to court when possible. And again, I think that this is a dangerous objective if we are not first referring to community resources such as mobile response, which is free, FCIU, which is free, both of which are restorative justice programs. And it's may also put us in a place of liability if SROs are not properly using warrants to conduct these primary investigations. And I, of course, am also concerned with how our district and the SROs will ensure that students, guardians, staff are aware and trained in the protection of students' rights regarding investigations, such as the right to remain silent, or the right to request an attorney, or the right to have a parent present when a youth is investigated. And then the second part is, Mr. Scarnio did point out that we had an SRO officer, and there's certainly plenty of rumors about why that we ended that relationship. And I know that there was some concern at that time with feeding our students into the prison pipeline with false allegations of gang involvement. And then also those accusations of gang involvement, even if there's no criminal conviction, even if there's no referral to juvenile resource officer, could feed a child into the immigrant detention and deportation pipeline.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Ruiz. I think that we all heard you. I think that at this point in time, what I'd like to do is to call the question and just have everyone vote on the motion as it was seconded.
Thank you, Ms. Plessis. Just for the record, I do have several other questions about accountability and transparency and training regarding this MOU.
I'm going to call the question, Ms. Ruiz, and that means the discussion on the issue stops and we continue with the vote. Do I have a second on calling the question?
Second.
Do I need a roll call vote on calling the question?
It doesn't have to be a roll call, but it's
All
supposed
those
to be
in
two separate.
favor, all those in favor of calling the question so that we can vote on this?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Opposed?
Ms. Ruiz? Okay. Can we now have a vote, please, on the original motion, which is to approve
1 through 11.
1 through 11?
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Rosales?
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen?
Yes.
Ms. Rosario?
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz?
No to 5, yes to all the rest.
Mr. Scarnio?
Yes.
Dr. Sainer?
Yes.
Ms. Pelestis?
Yes. Curriculum and co-curricular, Ms. Mullen.
Negotiations.
Oh,
Sorry, Mr.
sorry. It was a little
line here.
Okay, yeah, being that we are in active negotiations, there's not a lot we can say, other than the fact that we are currently in negotiations with the teachers who are currently working under their expired contract of June, which is fully in effect and continues to be. And we have started negotiations with the support staff. Their contract is still in force. It is until June 30th of this year, so they are still covered by an enforced contract. But we're working very diligently with the union and, hope that we will be able to reach an agreement soon. Although we have nothing concrete to base that on, so.
Okay, thank you very much. Curriculum and co-curricular.
I move that the board approves the Dover High School Athletic Association Treasurer's Report compiled by Mr. Bullock, month of February 2018.
Second. Okay, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Okay. Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Rosales?
Yes.
Mrs. Mullen?
Yes.
Ms. Rosario?
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz?
Yes.
Mr. Scarnio?
Yes.
Dr. Sainer?
Yes.
Ms. Pelestis?
Yes. Community relations, we do not have Ms. Phillips here. Ms. Rosario, do you want to?
She's not on the committee.
sorry,
Ms.
the meeting.
Pelestis. But if you'd like, on the other committee member, I certainly
Okay,
can
thank
make the
you.
motion.
Thank
for-
you, Ms. Reyes.
All board members received the menu-grams and reviewed it. All board members received the letter to community regarding safety concerns. And our board congratulates and celebrates our students and our staff for their excellent dramatic presentations last month. The 7th and 8th grade students presented Aladdin and were outstanding. And from the sets to the acting, for all those that attended, it was wonderful. I did not have the privilege or pleasure to see that, but I certainly heard rave reviews. I'm also, on behalf of Community Relations and the board, we're very grateful to the staff and the students and everyone who worked to make Beauty and the Beast the play an absolute success. This was one of the best shows produced, and I definitely enjoyed my time there. There were outstanding costumes, really incredible. Great singing and dancing and humor. I really liked the candlestick and the watch bit. And we are very proud of the performance. We also invite everyone to visit our Facebook page, which is on the agenda, facebook.com/Dover Schools, to ensure that you're all updated on news and events and information regarding the activities in the district.
Thank you. Okay, that moves right into policy, Ms. Ruiz.
Thank you, Ms. Pelestis. Just a second again to pull up that piece, just so I can ensure that we have a full update. The policy committee had our second meeting on March 13th from 7 to 9. We reviewed school district security of school premises policy 7440 and electronic surveillance in school buildings and on school grounds policy 7441. We also reviewed the welcoming resolution and policy from New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, and And two of those, the first two are on for tonight's agenda. Our next meeting is on April 2nd, where we will be reviewing the recordings of board meetings policy, number 0168, and finalizing the welcoming schools policy so that we can present those two policies hopefully at the April 10th meeting, regular session.
All right. Is there a motion?
Oh, yes, thank you for that reminder. Yes, I move that our board recommend approval as requested for the policies I just mentioned. This is the first reading of these policies, and we'll have a second reading on April 10th.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
In the 7441, the wording of the restorative principles, I don't think we need to, or we should be putting that in this policy at this time.
So you're talking about electronic surveillance in school buildings
Yes.
and on the first paragraph that's underlined?
Yes. The last sentence.
I'm sorry, Ms. Mullen, I'm having trouble pulling it up. What's the last sentence?
The last sentence of the first paragraph, the restorative justice principles with the goal of rehab will guide any disciplinary action taken. I think we have our code of conduct that has been approved by the board and that we've been working under, so I don't think it's appropriate to add something else in that is not linked to what is previously out there and what we're doing and that's posted and the rest of that. I think this is a much deeper thing that is outside of our surveillance, electronic surveillance.
I just want to be clear, are you, and I don't think that I am, so I'm not saying that you're saying this, but this is what I'm hearing. Are you saying that restorative justice principles and the goal of rehabilitation is not already guiding our disciplinary action?
I'm saying our code of conduct book is guiding it without that use of terminology, which would have to be defined.
Only because surveillance could be used for
Isn't this policy aimed at
discipline.
protection of the buildings and grounds, not of the students? So it wouldn't be covered by the code of conduct.
Well, this is about the goal of rehab, about any disciplinary
last
actions.
sentence.
So I don't even know why that's in the electronic surveillance.
I think I can explain, and
Sure.
certainly fellow members of the policy committee. We are, as stated before in previous discussions, very mindful of the need to keep our students safe, our staff safe, our buildings safe, our investments safe. So we are recommending that we do have existing electronic surveillance and if necessary additional electronic surveillance for those purposes. Of course, electronic surveillance can film any number of things. And if for any reason there is something that would lead to disciplinary action or even criminal charges that is captured on that surveillance, as you read the rest of the policy, it's possible that it could be used to uncover the truth, and you would want that. I mean,
And it doesn't
may be exculpatory.
necessarily indicate a student.
Right, it could be a staff, it could be anybody on the
Yeah,
premises.
because it's aimed at the buildings,
So
buildings and grounds.
we're saying that when there is disciplinary action, right? So the surveillance now leads to disciplinary action for our students, that we are mindful that the disciplinary action is in line with restorative justice principles and rehabilitation.
My point
Would also be
is
criminal
mindfulness.
Right, it could. And
I'm not
that's
sure the
different.
mindfulness should be included here. I think we need to follow our code of conduct. And if it's a staff person that has broken the law, that we take those steps. So I'm not sure this links directly into, but maybe.
Well, as you know, our policies cross-reference, right? So one policy does inform another, So sometimes it is necessary, even if you have a full set of policies, that there is some repetition of guidance within each policy to ensure that cross-referencing.
Because this is not aimed at students, this is specifically for the buildings. For anybody that might be damaging the buildings or other property of the school. So it doesn't come under the code of conduct.
Well, it could be students.
It could be,
Well,
but
here we're talking about.
But if you
our
take
goal
it
of
out
rehab
and you
with the
depend
guidance.
on the code of conduct for students, then if it is an outside person.
No, if I may, I just want to make sure everyone's talking about the same thing. I think, and I don't want to speak in just put words in their mouth, but I think what Ms. Mullen just referred to is the very last sentence of the first paragraph. She's not suggesting taking out the beginning of the first paragraph. She's just talking about the very last sentence of the last paragraph.
In with.
Right, the restorative
Right.
justice and principle. So if somebody comes in and smashes 4 windows in the building, we want to be able to go after that person to recoup the cost of replacing those windows. It doesn't necessarily have to be a student.
But no, that terminology,
Yeah.
we
But
have been
it-
using interchangeably in other ways regarding discipline. We want to recoup what damages, we have that in the
But
thing.
this policy is referring to buildings.
Right, but that phraseology might not be. We're
So-
using that phraseology in other ways
So if I
in this.
may, Ms.
Yeah.
Pelestis, that's a great example, right? Let's say it's a student. A student comes here, and maybe that student has been suffering through some mental illness or some conflict, and that student is angry and loses control and does break a window after hours, in a teacher's classroom. And now that's on video, right? We can and probably would use that video to find out what student it was. Maybe the student will say, oh no, that window was already broken. We'll be able to use the surveillance to show, no, that window was just fine, you've broken it. And now, as the school decides how to address that, we want payment for the window, of course, and there may be criminal charges, there may not be. And if we, as we are deciding that, and by we I mean the administration, not this board, that they will be guided by restorative justice principles and rehabilitation when it pertains to our students, because it's a disciplinary action. And as you stated, if those principles already guide our student conduct, then this is more of a cross-referencing and enforcing as opposed to a contradiction.